Yeah, because as you know, like people that when you walk into a gym like jiu-jitsu, if someone's wearing a colored belt, you know that they've been beat up plenty of times, but they didn't stop. Optimize learning, optimize training, reducing the risk of injury down to the lowest level too, or as much as you can. It helps me pick up things faster. It helps me train, lead, and mentor others, I think, in a more efficient way. Because, you know, if we follow the right models or think in a pretty much a superior way, we can get more done in less time. We help people set up private pension plans. We help people protect their money. So we would do a data collect. What it would look like is I would have to ask more questions, collect more data before I could start making recommendations. I always wanted to be a martial artist, but where I'm from in Central Alabama, there was no wrestling team. There was not a lot of martial arts, and plus this was back in the, when I was a kid, it was like the 90s, and then when I was a teenager, the early 2000s, so it was a little bit different. Well, I'm Joe. I was a GI Joe. I joined the Army right after high school. Had my humble beginnings starting in Central Alabama. I grew up on a farm, and I joined the Army pretty much get out of those conditions and get my education paid for. So I was in the Army for over a decade. I had a pretty stellar military career, and then I got out and started focusing on real estate and different business operations.
So where in Alabama did you grow up?
I'm originally from the dead center of Alabama. It's called Chilton County, and we're well known for our peaches. So it's about an hour north of Montgomery and an hour south of Birmingham, right in the dead center of Alabama.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. And then you were in the Army. Let's talk a little bit about that. What was your MOS? What'd you do? How long were you in?
Yeah, so I didn't know, obviously, like most people, a typical 17-year-old, you really don't know what you want to do. So I started off getting experience by joining the military to work in aviation. So I was a 15 Yankee in the Army. I worked on Apache helicopters. And then obviously, as you gain more rank, started scaling into working a little bit on other uh, other helicopters. But joined to be an aviation technician. However, after about 5 years, I became a full-time combatives instructor and master fitness trainer. And I have a pretty heavy background in human performance, and that's where my career took off.
When did you get out of the Army? Like what year?
I got out in 2016, and I joined in 2005. I
Okay.
was 9 days short of 11 years and decided to get out.
Okay. And so what'd you do when you got out? I know for a lot of veterans, it's like they don't have the next step necessarily prepared.
Well, I went into business for myself. Whenever I got stationed at Fort Carson out here in Colorado from Germany, I started investing in real estate, and that was 2014. And 2 years later, I decided to get out of the military, and I bought a property management franchise. So I was just went into business for myself.
Oh, so you started your entrepreneurial like journey while kind of still active duty?
Yeah, yeah, and if anyone's considering it, I would definitely recommend doing that. While you're still in, you can, be building something on the side. But yeah, I was investing in real estate while I was in the military. Yep.
Yeah, I definitely recommend that for a lot of folks. I made some smart moves, but a smarter move would have been to start investing in real estate and using the VA loan or at least, doing something on the side. Like definitely. So talk about the acquisition of a property management company. How did that look for someone who was active duty at the time?
Well, I joined the military at 17 years old, and before that, I grew up on a farm. All of this was brand new to me, but between multiple deployments, I had a little bit of cash saved up, and I was bouncing around on what I was going to do next in my career because personally, I like martial arts and human performance and physical stuff way more than, real estate or financial services. However, you can use real estate or financial service or any business really to give yourself a platform to go do whatever you want. But what it looked like was just the fact that I had some money saved up from deployments, and so I spent a lot of money on getting a franchise and being able to leverage their processes and systems to launch a real estate journey or real estate business.
And then, okay, so you got out. So you went from Germany to Colorado. Were you deployed anywhere else besides Europe, or like where did your like military like career take you?
Yeah, started off with training, I think in South Carolina, Fort Jackson area. Then I went and had like 39 weeks of advanced training for aviation up in Fort Eustis, Virginia. And then my first duty station was actually Camp Humphreys, Korea. So I spent a year in Korea. After that, I came to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. From there, we deployed to Afghanistan. And then when I got back from my deployment, shortly after that, I re-enlisted to go to Germany. And then while I was in Germany, I deployed to Afghanistan. And I also extended my time in Germany. I love Germany. Germany's amazing. So I extended my time there. And then finally, I decided to come back to my home country, and I got stationed out here in Colorado.
Yeah, I have a security business, and we picked up a subcontract, and I'm like, man, I can support this contract anywhere in Europe, and I have like my eyes set on Germany.
Yeah.
So no, that's awesome. Okay, so you acquired this property management company while you were in. Do you still have that property management company, or what did that look like afterwards?
Yeah, so we can dive right on into that. So when I was in the military, I worked and went to school my whole military career. Even if the operation tempo was really, really high, I compromised my sleep and I studied and all that stuff. And I bought that, like I said, I started investing in real estate. And in my mind, I was like, no one's going to outwork me. I'm going to be this multi-millionaire by the time I'm 30. And I'm going to buy this property management company and make it be super successful. Well, that was my first like big setback. Whenever it comes to real estate, each state has their own rules and regulations, and Colorado is I think it's kind of its own thing whenever it comes to real estate. We have a very unique, I guess, and well, the rules and regulations are pretty strict on the way you market and advertise. And so I was in this position where I had bought a franchise and I was in this agreement that I would advertise, obviously, the franchise, that business. But in the state of Colorado, if you are a real estate agent, you have to advertise your brokerage. You'll have an employing broker, someone who's been in the business longer, that's going to take on some of the liability of your operations, and you have to hang your license with an employing broker in the beginning. And so I was pretty much stuck in the middle where, I have to market whoever my brokerage is, and then I'm in this agreement where I have to market, this property management franchise that I bought, and that really caused some issues. So I wasn't able to go to the marketplace and just hang my license with the best firm or best brokerage because I was in a contractual agreement of advertising that franchise. So instead of being able to just go out there, like I said, to the open market and hang my license, I had it dwindled down to pretty much I only had one option. And so I did that for a few months. To say the best words, it was a very big and expensive learning experience. I got out of that, and then I started my journey with the current firm I'm with now, another real estate franchise. But after about a year, I had to let go of that property management franchise after about a year. However, I learned a lot, and of course, I stayed in real estate and stayed consistent, and it definitely paid off.
What would your advice be for someone who finds themselves kind of stuck, and when do you think is like a good time to realize that you need to back away from that business?
You know, everyone's situation is different, and I didn't really back away. I stayed in real estate. I kept doing it. I stayed consistent. I still have rental properties, but I would have to say it's just different for everyone. But if you've spent a lot of money on a franchise, and you go a year and you're really working, you're struggling, you're doing everything, you really are trying and doing everything you can to make it successful, and you get into where, I mean, I had money, and then I pretty much lost it all trying to maintain everything in my business for a whole year. Um, I can't give an exact answer because again, each situation is so unique. But to make a
Yeah.
long story short, for me, I held on to it for a whole year. I was paying fees every single month, not making any money from it. But it's just, real estate rules and regulations can be complex, especially in the situation that I discussed that I was in.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't realize Colorado was unique in that regard. I don't know if California is the same way. I don't think California is the same way, but I think that's one of the benefits of having a franchise is that if you're not really too familiar with being an entrepreneur and running your own business, franchise just gives you all of that. It's like here's your franchise manual, follow it. But yeah, there are some limitations. So you left. Well, so you're still in real estate. So let's talk about kind of what you're doing now because I know you are also a subject matter expert at least when it comes to like you said human development, right? Like some personal development. So I kind of want to touch on those two things too, like what you're doing now and then that aspect of it.
Yeah, so human performance. I
Human
mean,
performance, yeah.
yeah. So I got younger me. I had highly considered becoming a doctor. I wanted to be a psychiatrist, but after being deployed and seeing some stuff, and then I don't do very well with like the whole blood and stuff. And I had an MMA fight, and I beat this guy up, and I realized I didn't like blood, and I quickly realized like I don't want to go to medical school. I don't want to be a doctor because it's not for me. Um, so then I was like, well, I'm gonna be a psychologist versus a psychiatrist, so I don't have to go to medical school. But I'd always been some type of athlete, lifting weights and trying to be fit, and then being in the army and being really interested in martial arts. So I ended up cutting out the psychology. I got my undergrad in psychology, but then I went and focused on human performance, and I got a graduate degree focusing on exercise science and injury prevention. But when I was in the service, like I became a combatives instructor, and then that human performance degree really helped me get ahead. I mean, along with a background in educational psychology, really just trying to optimize learning, doing knowledge transfer, optimize learning, optimize training, reducing the risk of injury down the lowest level too, or as much as you can, because as you already know, combatives and combat sports, it's hard on the body, and the military, or at least the army, they can lose a lot of money and a lot of manpower with soldiers getting hurt in combatives training. But outside of that, I got a whole bunch of certifications in the field, and just I went really far down that rabbit hole. And to this day, it helps me pick up things faster. It helps me train, lead, and mentor others. I think in a more efficient way, because if we follow the right models or think in a pretty much a superior way, we can get more done in less time and get closer and closer to our goals way faster versus just doing trial and error, because a lot of us were simply just following the wrong models. Our goals are one thing, and then we follow some model that doesn't really connect to our goal, and you can save a lot of time, energy, and money by following a proven model.
What does mentorship look like in that regard? I don't know if that's a service that you provide, but if someone was like, you know what, that sounds great, I want you to be my mentor, what does
Yeah.
that look like?
Well, I consult a lot of people with their obviously their home buying needs and real estate needs. So I help people buy, sell, and invest in real estate, and that comes down to analyzing their portfolios or analyzing a property that they want to acquire, or just advising and consulting them throughout the home buying process. Outside of that, in financial services, we give a whole picture look. We can look at the equity in your real estate portfolio, but we can also optimize, you know, the things that you need to do to reach your goals financially. We help people set up private pension plans. We help people protect their money, and things like that. Outside of that, we're always trying to grow our talent base, and so we recruit talent, and of course try to mentor them to being successful and lead them to success as well.
That's interesting. So you essentially tied your psychology background with financial goals, it sounds like. And that sounds awesome. I have a background in psychology, obviously, and I'm a business, I'm a business person. So Is that a correct kind of like distilling that down to that? Is that
Yeah, to an extent, a psychology background helps, with dealing with people and things like that. I think I got the most benefit from my psychology background, mainly with like educational psychology, really, helping people learn more faster. That's the
yeah?
whole human performance thing, and so we can take that into consideration with a lot of stuff. But whenever I think about that skill set, it's more on the physical realm, you know.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's just a unique background because I feel like even though it might seem separate, but I think your ability to understand someone, understand their goals and what works well for them also gives you some insight when it comes to mentorship, in that, financial real estate, like business mindedness. So that's pretty interesting. So your business now. So let's talk a little bit about that. So what is the name of your business?
Well, I'm an independent contractor in real
Oh,
estate and an independent contractor in financial services. So my license is hung under two different corporations, two separate licenses. Got to be licensed and insured in both of these fields, and I'm really trying to bridge the gap there. As you may already know, I don't know if your viewers will know, but whenever we talk about financial services or people working in the financial industry, real estate is typically one of the biggest financial decisions of a person's life. Like every year, even if they decide to rent, that's a lot of money they're dishing out. It's a big financial decision what you do with how you obtain your shelter or what you do to live. And the financial industry kind of just like overlooks that. They don't really take that in consideration. And then in the real estate industry, whenever it comes to finances, here we are helping people transact one of the biggest financial decisions of their life. But then again, whenever it comes to finances, like outside of real estate, they don't really understand that point of view. And so I'm really trying to bridge the gap and be like a one stop shop for people's estate and portfolios, and really just designing the infrastructure that they need to reach their goals and leveraging real estate and financial services.
yeah, I like that's actually something that I could use because right now I feel like I have 75 different people. I have nobody who's helping with me with real estate, but then I have like a fiduciary. I have two fiduciaries, and then I have an estate attorney, and then I have like someone who's managing my trust, and it gets to be too much sometimes. So having a one-stop shop is so needed. But
Yeah.
so what does that look like? So if I came to you and I said I want to buy this house, which this is an actual thing, I'm looking at buying a house in upstate New York.
Hmm.
So if I come to you and say I want to buy this house, I want to build my portfolio. My goal is to privately own, 5 or 6 houses across the United States. So how do you, without giving away like any secret sauce, but like how do you analyze that? How do you help me determine what my goal really is, and is this house what I need to reach that?
Yeah. So typically, what we have to do before we make any recommendations, we got to do pretty much a data collection. It's kind of like going to the doctor and uh, saying you have a cough. They they would probably ask more questions. Depending on the severity of something, run tests and then gather data. So we would do a data collect, and with what you just said, specifically when it comes to real estate, I have experience in Colorado, Alabama, and then some overseas experience. Each state got to have a separate license, but we have a referral network. And what's awesome about people who are veterans, there's these programs out there that most people are oblivious to, and don't know about, that can give you substantial savings and rewards whenever you do real estate transactions. But what it would look like is I would have to ask more questions, collect more data before I could start making recommendations. But whenever you're looking to purchase, say in New York, I would go through my referral network and try to connect you with a competent broker out there that would give you the most benefit.
So do you manage our portfolio, or would you like if you were my mentor, would we maybe meet once a quarter to go through kind of like lay everything out as it relates to financial management and real estate? I'm trying to get an idea of because I know a lot of my viewers are either in real estate or are looking to invest in real estate, and a lot of folks who listen are trying to find smart ways to spend their money. Like they want their money to make them money. So this is like a hot topic for them, especially for some of the business owners. Like I have clients who I've helped, they're making a ton of money and they're like, what do I do with it? It's just sitting in a bank account.
Yep, that's a great question. Again, it really goes back to the data collect. We could definitely meet every quarter, but typically, unless a client is coming into like a big decision of acquiring another property or something happens in their estate, but definitely on a yearly basis, we reanalyze where people are, make sure they're on track. But if the situation needed every quarter, we could do that as well.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good too. Like I know for me, when I make big purchases, it's usually every year. It's not too frequent, unless I have a fiduciary who handles like stock portfolio, and I have a broker who does that. So that's like I talk to him weekly, which is annoying. I'm just like handle it. But anyway, yeah, that's cool. I want to talk a little bit about like your MMA side of stuff. So what was I know you come from Alabama. I'm not too sure what your athletic background is, but what kind of led to you where you're at now with the competitive side of sports?
Yeah, I knew I always wanted to be a martial artist, but where I'm from in Central Alabama, there was no wrestling team. There was not a lot of martial arts, and plus this was back in when I was a kid, it was like the 90s, and then when I was a teenager, it was the early 2000s, so it was a little bit different. But I remember watching the early UFCs, and like I always wanted to be a martial artist, but I never had the opportunity to train. About as far as I got as a child was owning a heavy bag, and I remember in my mind, I was like, man, I worked all day long to buy me a pair of boxing gloves. But whenever I joined the Army, there I was, 17 years old, and it's probably the same in the Marine Corps, but through your basic training, you get so many hours of like combatives training or hand-to-hand combat. That's part of it. And so that really sparked my interest. Outside of that, I was just really into like weightlifting at the time and just trying to be super strong. But eventually, through some combatives training and just getting more and more involved in the MMA community, once I got to like Germany, I went out into the city and I found like a MMA gym or kickboxing gym, and I just started going. Like I wanted to train, and for like 6 months, here I am. I'm a very strong GI Joe. For like 6 months, I got beat up by everybody. Yeah, because as you know, like people that when you walk into a gym like jiu-jitsu, if someone's wearing a colored belt, you know that they've been beat up plenty of times, but they didn't stop. And one reason I didn't improve as much as I wanted to is because at that time I didn't speak very good German, and of course the class was in German. Some people say I can't even speak proper English, being from Alabama. But yeah, I went there for like 6 months, and then every time I went to a promotion board, I told them my short and long-term goals of being a combative instructor and being a mixed martial artist, and I eventually kind of pushed my career in a way to where I got through all 4 levels of combatives training, and everyone knew that I was always training outside of work, going to a gym off base. And after I finally went to like level 3 MACP, Modern Army Combatives Program in the Army, where I really got the basics of striking, that really upped my striking game so that when I went back, at least I wasn't getting beat up by everybody. But I've stayed with it over the years, and I've lived in MMA and Muay Thai camps in Thailand for months at a time. And as I told you, I've acquired some real estate out there and have connections out in Thailand. I love that place. But I fought Muay Thai in Thailand, and I love the grapple. I love the just constantly evolving, constantly growing. And whenever it comes to martial arts, there's so many similarities with like martial arts and business. In business, you can't fold whenever you get a couple of objections. I mean, you look at some of the most successful businesses around, like I think I read like Jeff Bezos went like 10 years before Amazon was profitable or something really extreme like that. And MMA can be the same thing. You're a brand new white belt and you just go in the gym and everyone's smashing you and beating you up all the time. But if you stick with it, stay consistent and coachable and committed, you just keep getting better. And there's no such thing as failure if you don't quit. If you don't quit, there's no such thing as failure. You're just in the process.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I was laughing because I was like, yeah, business is like that. Everybody's always trying to beat up somebody else. But no, I think that's awesome. So when I was in the Navy, a lot of Navy like close quarter combat is reminiscent of Muay Thai because it's designed to be close quarter combat in small spaces, like on a ship. In the Marine Corps, they have the MCMAP, Marine Corps Martial Arts Program, and that's very reminiscent of jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of striking. There's also a lot of like weapon retention and utilizing what you have on you. There's also some maneuvers that are reminiscent of like, do you have a bayonet? Probably not, but there's some things that reflect that. And I think that's kind of what started my journey in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Is I was like, this looks like a good cardio workout, and I could learn to like fight on the ground. So I did that, but I actually started in Krav Maga, and that was a humbling experience because Krav Maga is all about like mutilating the other person, and I loved it. But then when I went to jiu-jitsu, I was like super confident. I'm like, I just came from Krav Maga, I got this. I got my ass kicked by like children. I was like, this is humbling. This one little girl, her and I were sparring, and she just spider monkeyed me. And it was like, don't let the other person, like, they have this game on open mat where it's like, don't let the other person get your back, or like, don't let this other person break your guard. And I remember this little girl just like whooped my ass. I don't think I won against her once, and I was twice her size. But yeah, you mentioned that you have a fight coming up. So is that like a mixed martial arts fight, or is it specifically like Muay Thai?
No, it's an MMA bout out here in Colorado Springs.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yes, Joe, the real estate pro.
Yeah.
I can we can go through a home buying consultation process, a home selling consultation, or a real estate investment consultation to really shave a lot of time, sometimes years off someone's learning curve because I've gained a lot of experience in that realm. And then outside of that, we do personal financial reviews. We literally sit down, and it doesn't matter. You don't have to have a lot, but we sit down and we review everything you got going on. We take in consideration like what your goals are, and then we come up with a custom roadmap to help you get there.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Have you ever done a group setting?
Yeah, well, when we do like kind of a group setting, it's more training. We have a group and it's more training to help them understand stuff because once we get into like collecting the data, some of it's kind of personal,
Right,
talking
yeah.
about people's finances and their whole portfolios or their whatever their business is. So that's very rarely done out in a group setting.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I've had, I've hosted kind of like personal development or like specifically for veterans, like a development course, for example, where I have experts come in and they talk a little bit about stuff, and then what they do is after your segment, there's like a break, and they can go up to you and schedule something with you for um, that more in depth like data collection, understanding a little bit more about what they're looking to do. But yeah, no, I think that's pretty awesome. So I know. So you said you're licensed in Colorado, Alabama, and then there was somewhere else, or you operate in.
Yeah, Kentucky, Alabama, Colorado, I think North Carolina, and in the financial services, our territories aren't so like consolidated, so it's pretty easy for me to scale into different states if someone needs services is because it's mostly the same for the most part. The real estate part is a little bit different because states can vary greatly, and it's like a big, like a higher acquisition cost to
Sure.
get licensed in another state. When it comes to real estate, it's really hard to have be licensed in every state in real estate. That would I don't know of anyone that's done that.
No.
But
Yeah.
you can in financial services is a much easier place to scale your territory. So if someone was in a different state, it wouldn't take much for me to quickly be in a position to help them there.
Yeah, and then so you leverage a network of real estate professionals in those other states. So I think that's like a great full service option. So is it so when it comes to managing someone's portfolio, what information do you like them to have kind of ready for when they come to talk to you?
Yeah, so I don't like necessarily like manage someone's portfolio.
Well, yeah.
We just kind of like a tax strategist. We help them properly build their portfolio in the most advantageous way that is in line with their unique and specific goals. And each person's fairly different, and some of these can be, pretty synergistic and kind of complex, but we literally just sit down. We just need to know like what your goals are. Like what does retirement look like for you? When do you want to retire? Because we have to take in all these variables of wealth, and one of them is time. Like we all should have been investing sooner because time is, compounded time and compounded interest over time. I mean, that's a huge factor in creating wealth. We need to know how to structure our stuff to hopefully reduce or eliminate taxes because taxes are your single largest expense throughout your life. We need to learn how or know how to get a very high return on our money because obviously your rate of return is also a factor. We got to be we pretty much need to eliminate taxes. We need to outpace inflation, and everyone's situation is different. But we just take a look at what they have going on and what their retirement goals are, and then we are able to create a custom roadmap to help them reach their goals. And with me, we can also take in consideration your real estate holdings. You don't have to go to a separate person because I'm licensed in that too, and I can literally calculate and analyze about how much equity you would have in your home or if you have rental properties, and we can take all this data into consideration to come up with the most efficient roadmap for you to reach success.
Yeah, no, I might actually have to talk to you after this because I need that. I've been managing things on my own, and I think a lot of people are like me, where it's like we know we need to invest, so we start to invest in stuff, and we start to, things start making money for us, and it's like, okay, like, do I have a plan here? Like, I just have like stuff going on everywhere. So,
Yeah.
what would be your advice for someone who's like me, who's doing all of this stuff?
Well, again, I'd have to know more. It'd be like kind of a personal, it would be a consultation. I would have to collect more data because it really depends. Like, when do you want to retire? What does your retirement life look like? How much do you want to retire on? And so there's all these variables that kind of influence what you need to be doing now. And you had mentioned earlier, you had mentioned the term fiduciary, and I love that because people they need to act like they have a fiduciary duty for their future self. And I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people kind of overlook that or they get tangled up in what's going on now. And one way to promote your best interest in the future is to sit down, have a professional look at your portfolio, take in consideration where you want to go, and come up with a roadmap. That is literally promoting your future best interest.
So I've asked you several questions, and your answer to most of those has been it depends on you. And I think that everyone needs to realize that anybody who gives you a blanket answer, you should not follow that. It should be exactly what you said. It depends on you and your goals. A lot of times I have people who are like, well, do this. And it's like, well, it's not cookie cutter. Like,
It's
everybody's
not.
not going to. So I love that you've done that because I've asked you a ton of questions, all somewhat varying, but you're always like, it depends. And I'm like, that is such a great answer because it really does depend. What any advice that you would give me here right now is good enough for me. Like, it would help me, but it's not going to help someone else who's not me. So, no, that's
Exactly.
awesome. I like that. That's how you said that because people ask me the same thing, and it's like, what would you tell what would you tell a business owner to do right now? And I'm like, who's the business owner? What's their business? What's
What's
the
the
advice that
detail?
they're looking for? Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's awesome. Thanks for that.
Hmm.
So if
The
people
devil,
wanted,
the devil's in the details.
yeah, no, that's awesome. So if folks wanted to get a hold of you or get in touch with you to learn a little bit more about how you can help them create this roadmap to financial success, how could they reach you?
You just go to my website, josephmcneal.com. Joseph is Joseph, McNeal is McNeal. You could also email support@josephmcneal.com as well. Those are two pathways of really getting in contact with me, and we can get on the calendar and do this. It's very beneficial, it's complimentary, but it can make people aware of what they need to start doing now. Because the first part of changing anything is just being aware. And most people are very unaware of the products and services out there to help them reach success. I know I was oblivious to so many of them until I got into the business myself. And, a lot of people, they feel like they need to stick with a company or organization to have a retirement plan, but you can literally set up your own retirement plan. And you can have multiple plans.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping you from that. But most people feel like they need to stick with a company that has maybe a 401k, but there's other options out there, and you can capitalize on several of them.
Yeah, no, that's like I just discovered like investing into life insurance. So like I started doing that,
Yeah.
and I was like, what else is there? Like I need to put my money places. So where
Yeah.
do I put it? So no, that's
That's a
awesome.
that's a great one. That's
No,
good.
thanks so much. I don't know of many other people who do what you do, who look at the whole picture and look at the goal and like, is this yellow brick road going to take you to the wizard kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
no, that's awesome, and I think everybody needs to utilize that kind of service, especially now with a lot of military folks. Maybe it's just like because we're older, so I see a lot of my friends who are E8s, E9s, who are commissioned officers, and they're starting to make some real money, and they're like, I need to put it places, or my kids are out of the house now. Like, what do I do with this money? So, I think
Yeah.
having that roadmap. I know you and I are probably. I'll probably end up I'll probably end up scheduling an appointment with you because, yeah, I need. There's no roadmap right now. So, no,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thanks for being here. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to talk about, or let the audience know as it relates to what you do.
Nah, I mean, I really believe in it. It's very valuable. I would highly encourage people to take advantage of the opportunity. You have nothing to lose. You only have stuff to gain. That's it. So it's just a great return on your time invested of leveraging someone like this. And then even like you, even if you have fiduciaries and people already helping you, it never hurts to get like a second look,
Right.
because there's so much out there, and a lot of people are only focusing on one or two things. But when it comes to financial services, we work with a lot of different companies. We're non-captive, and then when you throw in real estate skill sets with it, we can literally give you a whole big, great picture look of what you got going on and what you need to do to get to where you want to go.
No, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I know for me, I have a lot of people who do a lot of different things, but none of them talk to each other. I'm the central point. So,
Yeah.
yeah. No, thanks so much. Thanks for being here. I will leave a link to get a hold of you in the description, and then, yeah, awesome.